There are things a father should never have to witness. The slow dimming of light in his daughter's eyes, the way her smile becomes a little weaker, a little less frequent. I saw it happening, and I knew her husband was the cause. My son-in-law, the man I had entrusted with her happiness. They say a father's intuition is a force of its own. Mine was screaming that she was in danger, not a physical one, something far more insidious. But to save her, I needed more than a feeling. I needed proof, cold, hard, undeniable evidence. So I made a decision. I would go where I wasn't invited. I would learn the truth they were hiding from me. I did the only thing a father desperate to protect his child could do. I hired a detective for his stag party. My daughter, Chloe, has always had a light inside her. It's a bright, unwavering thing that could illuminate a room. When she brought Mark home, I saw how that light reflected in his eyes, and I was cautiously happy. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed to adore her. He worked in marketing, and he was good with words. Too good, perhaps. Their wedding planning was a whirlwind. I poured a significant part of my life, the business I built from a single small shop into a respected chain of boutique hotels, into giving her the dream celebration. I walked her down the aisle, her hand trembling on my arm, her smile radiant. In that moment, I dismissed all my quiet, nagging doubts as a father's irrational protectiveness. But after the wedding, the light in Chloe began to flicker. She became quieter. The lively, opinionated woman I raised started second-guessing herself. She'd dismiss a brilliant business idea with a weak, "Oh, Mark says it's not a good time." She stopped wearing her favorite colorful dresses, opting for a more sophisticated and muted palette he preferred. They were small things, subtle erosions. But a father sees the tiny fractures in his daughter's spirit. When I gently asked if everything was okay, she would force a smile and say, "Everything's perfect, Dad." Just tired. But her eyes told a different, more sorrowful story. The real alarm bell rang at a casual family barbecue. Mark, after a few beers, was holding court, talking about his rapid rise in his company. He laughed, a loud, brash sound, and clapped me on the shoulder. "See, David? It's all about strategy. You identify an asset, you analyze its potential, and you integrate it into your long-term portfolio." He was looking directly at Chloe as he said it. The word asset hung in the air, cold and impersonal. It wasn't a term of endearment. It was a term of acquisition. That night, I couldn't sleep. The memory of his tone, the possessive way he looked at her, it recontextualized everything. This wasn't just a controlling husband. This felt like something more calculated. My gut, the same instinct that helped me build my business, screamed that my daughter was not in a marriage, but in a negotiation where she didn't know the terms. I decided I couldn't stand by. If I was wrong, I'd risk my relationship with Chloe. But if I was right, the cost of my silence would be unimaginable. I needed proof, not suspicions, not feelings, cold, hard facts. I called in a favor from an old friend, a man named Arthur who ran a discreet private investigation firm. I laid out my fears, feeling a mix of shame and desperation. "I need to know who he is when he thinks no one who loves Chloe is watching," I told him. Arthur, a man of few words, simply nodded. "We'll find the truth, David." The opportunity came sooner than expected. Mark was having his official stag party, a weekend in Vegas with his friends. Chloe had mentioned it weeks ago, a note of anxiety in her voice she'd tried to mask. Arthur and his team were on the next flight. For 2 days, I was a ghost in my own home, jumping every time the phone rang. Then Arthur called. His voice was grim. "David, we have it. Audio and video. It's exactly what you feared. It's worse." He had secured footage from a camera in the VIP lounge where Mark and his friends were celebrating. My hands were ice cold as I downloaded the encrypted file. I was about to look into an abyss, and I was terrified of what would look back. I poured a stiff drink, my hand trembling so badly the ice cubes clinked like warning bells. I clicked play. The video was crystal clear. Mark, flushed with expensive whiskey and the arrogance of a man surrounded by sycophants, was holding forth. His friends laughed, egging him on. "Come on, Mark, you really hit the jackpot with Chloe, huh?" One of them slurred. Mark smirked, a cruel, ugly expression I had never seen on his face. "Jackpot is the right word, boys," he said, raising his glass. "You see, you don't just marry the girl. You marry the portfolio." The room on the screen erupted in laughter, but I felt my blood turn cold. "Her old man built a gorgeous little empire with those hotels," Mark continued, his voice dripping with condescension, "but he's soft, sentimental. And Chloe, she's brilliant, I'll give her that, but she's too emotional to run it. A year, maybe 2. I get myself embedded in the business, gain his trust. Then, when the time is right, a little pressure here, a strategic move there, Dad will be pushed out to retirement, and I'll be steering the ship. It's a hostile takeover of the heart, gentlemen, the most profitable kind." I sat there, long after the video had ended. The rage was a physical presence, a fire in my chest. But beneath it was a profound, chilling clarity. This was no longer about a troubled marriage. This was corporate warfare waged on my family, and I had just discovered his battle plan. I didn't confront him immediately. Rage is a bad strategist. I needed to be calm, precise, and utterly devastating. I invited Chloe and Mark for a family dinner at my house under the guise of wanting to hear about their honeymoon plans. The air was thick with tension from the moment they arrived. Chloe was nervous, feeling the unspoken storm. Mark was his usual polished, fake self. After dinner, I suggested we have a drink in my study. "Mark," I began, my voice dangerously calm, "Chloe tells me you've been giving her some excellent business advice lately." He puffed up, smiling. "Just trying to help, David. It's a complex world." "Is it?" I said, picking up a small remote. "I found a business lecture recently. I found the strategy so enlightening. I thought you might appreciate it." I turned the large screen TV on the wall behind my desk and pressed play. The color drained from Mark's face in an instant. He looked from the screen to me, his eyes wide with pure, animal panic. On the TV, his own voice, loud and clear, was detailing his plan for the hostile takeover. Chloe made a small, choked sound. She stood up, her hand over her mouth, her eyes glued to the screen, filling with a horror I never want to see again. "Chloe, baby, it's not what it looks like," Mark stammered, reaching for her. She flinched away from his touch as if burned. You said you loved me," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I did what any good father would do," I said, my voice steady, though my heart was shattering for my daughter. "I protected my family's most valuable asset, its honor, and its future CEO. I looked at Mark, my gaze cold enough to freeze hell. The wedding is off. You will walk away from my daughter, and you will never contact her again. If you so much as send her a text message, this video goes to your employer, your family, and every business contact you have. Your career will be over before it even starts. Do you understand? He was broken. He just nodded, unable to form words, and slunk out of my house and out of our lives. The weeks that followed were some of the most difficult of our lives. Chloe's grief was a tidal wave, not just for the lost marriage, but for the lost version of herself, for the trust that had been so grotesquely violated. She moved back home, and the bright, vibrant woman was gone, replaced by a hollowed-out version. My rage had subsided, replaced by a deep, aching sorrow for my daughter's pain. We talked for hours. I apologized for the brutal way she had to learn the truth. She cried, she raged, and slowly she began to piece herself back together. The experience, as horrific as it was, burned away the insecurity he had planted in her. She started talking about the business again, her ideas sharper, her resolve stronger. It was as if she was reclaiming the territory he had tried to annex. It's been a year now. The legal annulment was swift, based on evidence of fraud. Chloe didn't just recover, she transformed. She has taken a more prominent role in the family business, not as my little girl, but as a fierce and brilliant partner. The light in her eyes is back, but it's different. It's not just bright, it's sharp. It's been tempered in fire. People might question my methods. Was it extreme to hire a detective to expose my daughter to such a brutal revelation? My answer is unwavering. When a predator is hunting your family, you don't play by the rules of polite society. You become the protector. I didn't just protect my daughter from a bad marriage. I protected her future, her legacy, and her sense of self. I gave her back the life that was stolen from her by a man who saw her heart as a spreadsheet. And in doing so, I didn't just defend her honor. I helped her forge a new, unbreakable strength. The business is safe, but more importantly, my daughter is saved. And that is a victory no one can ever take from us.